Hi algebra class, this is section 9.4, multiplying special cases. And just like the other review videos, pause the video, go ahead and do the example on your own, then come back and see the explanation for yourself. Okay, so the first example is find the square, and we have x minus 7 being squared. And just a reminder, this does not equal x squared plus 49. So go ahead and try this one on your own. For me, I noticed that I could just use the trick, which the trick is we just multiply, or we square this first term, which will give me my x squared, so that's where this is coming from. And then I multiply the 7 and the negative 4, or the x and the negative 7 together, which will give me just negative 7x, and then I double that, which will give me negative 14x. So that's where this combination of these two is coming from and giving me my middle term. And then my last term is simply just negative 7 being squared, which will give me my positive 49. Now, if you don't recognize the trick and you're still in that process of foiling, I just wanted to show you that it still works, the foiling method. All you have to do is remember to write out both binomials. And then you go ahead and FOIL the same process you've been working with. We'll get an x squared minus 7x plus 49. And then when you go ahead and combine your two middle terms, you're going to get x squared minus 14x plus 49. So you get the same answer either way. It just depends on how quickly you recognize that it's a binomial being squared. And then you can go ahead and apply the trick, or if not, like I showed you right here, foiling still works. Here's the next example. This is also as being a binomial being squared. So go ahead and try this one on your own as well. But we have 10x minus 4 being squared. So we know that it's not going to equal 100x squared plus 16, because that's not what we're doing, but we still have that middle term. So you can go ahead and recognize that it's that same trick. We can square this first term, and that's where we are getting the 100x squared. Then we multiply our two terms together. So we multiply 10x minus 4 to give me negative 40x. And then you go ahead and you double that, and that's where this negative 80x is coming from. And then just like in the last problem, we take this negative 4 and we square it to get a positive 16. So great, again, if you recognize the trick, just to save you a little bit of time. If not, foiling still works. So go ahead and write out your two binomials. And just like in the other ones, I'm going to just go ahead and multiply my first terms, then my outer terms to give me 40x, my negative 40x, and then my inner terms will also give me negative 40x, and that's where that negative 80x is coming from. So our final answer is 100x squared minus 80x plus 16. So whatever way you got the answer, as long as you got the answer correctly, whatever way you did it, then you're perfectly fine. So now we're finding this product. So we have 2x plus 15 and 2x minus 15. So there's two options. You can go ahead and recognize that this is a difference of two squares, or you can go ahead and FOIL. But I know that this is in that form of a plus b and then a minus b. So if you recognize that right away, then you can figure out what our product is going to be. We're going to have 4x squared minus 225. And that's because we're squaring this first term and we're squaring this last term. Okay? And it's a difference of squares. Now, if not, and you didn't recognize that, just like for the other problems, you can go ahead and go back to the basics of foiling, which is totally fine. So if we FOIL this, we're going to get 2x times 2x, which will give us 4x squared. Then we have this 15, or 2x times negative 15, which will give us our negative 30x right here. 15 times 2x will give us a positive 30x. And then 15 times negative 15, and that's where that negative 225 is coming from. And then when we go ahead and combine our like terms, these two middle terms are actually going to cancel out. So that's why we're left with just 4x squared minus 225. So here's another example, and it says find the product of these two binomials being multiplied together. We have 6x squared plus 2y and 6x squared minus 2y. Now once again, if you recognize that this is a difference of two squares in factored form, we have a plus b and then a minus b. So if you recognize this right away, then you don't really have much work ahead of you. All you have to do is square each of the terms, which will give us 6x squared times 6x squared will give us a 36x to the fourth, and then 2y times negative 2y will give us a negative 4y squared. So this is a difference of two squares, or you can go ahead and solve this using FOIL. So I just rewrote the problem and showed my foiling steps of first, outers, inners, last. And I got 36x to the fourth minus 12x squared y plus 12x squared y minus 4y squared. So if you do FOIL, you just have to keep track of your terms right here. So what happens is when we go ahead and do our outer terms, 6x squared times negative 2y, we're going to get negative 12 as our coefficient, and then we have an x squared, which will remain the same right here, and then we have the y, which will always remain the same. So that's why we just kind of multiply those two together right there. And then similarly, we have positive 2y times 6x squared. We'll get positive 12. We have our x squared here and our y here. And you always want to write it with the highest degree first, so that's why I have the x squared coming first in front of the y. But it doesn't matter in the end because these two are going to actually cancel out. And we're left with 36x to the fourth minus 4y squared. So that's what we got for that answer. Okay, so this problem says find the square, and we have 5x minus 7y squared. So hopefully you're kind of seeing a pattern, and we can do the quicker method, and if not, that's totally fine. But we want to notice that this right here, our 5x being squared, so we want to go ahead and square that, and that's where we're getting this 25x squared right here. And then we want to multiply the 5x times negative 7x together, which is going to give us a negative 35xy. But then we want to go ahead and double that. So 35 plus 35 will give us our negative 70xy. And then we want to go ahead and square this last term, which is negative 7y, to give us 49y squared. So that's one way that you can find it, or like I said, there's another option, and we can go back to foiling. So as you can tell, foiling is always a great fallback method. So it's always, as long as you're able to check yourself and make sure you're doing the correct steps, then you should be fine. So we have 5x times 5x to give us 25x squared, and then like I said up top, negative 5x times negative 7y will give us negative 35xy right here. And then similarly, when we do our inner terms, negative 7y times 5x will also give us a negative 35xy. And then our last terms, negative 7y times negative 7y will give us a positive 49y squared. So whatever way you do it, you should still get the right answer, and our final answer once we combine our like terms is 25x squared minus 70xy plus 49y squared. Okay, and then here's another example. It says find each product. We have 15x plus 9y times 15x minus 9y. I don't know if I said negative, but this is a positive, sorry. So it's 15x plus 9y times 15x minus 9y. So if you went ahead and you recognize that this was a difference of squares, then it becomes really easy. And you can just square this first term, which is going to give us our 225x squared, because that's what 15 times 15 is going to give us, 225. And then our x squares is just our x squared. And then we go ahead and we square our last term, which will give us an 81y squared. And then it's the difference of squares, so that's where that negative's coming from. Or Like always, we can FOIL to double check ourselves in case you need some extra time. In case you have some extra time on the test and you know that this is true, but maybe you just want to check your math and double check, but we have 15x times 15x to give us 225x squared, and then 15x times negative 9y will give us negative 45xy. And then when we do our inner terms, which is in red, we're going to get 9y times 15x, which is going to give us positive 45xy. And then if you follow the purple, we're doing our last terms, which is a positive 9y times a negative 9y, and that's where our negative's coming from. So up here when we have a negative, technically when you do your FOIL, that's where the negative's coming from. But it's also coming from when you say the difference of two squares. So this is negative 81y squared. And then when you go ahead and you combine your like terms, in black is what we're going to get as our final answer, 225x squared minus 81y squared. So like I said, if you're ever in a bind and you don't know where what the first step is, if you don't recognize that it's a difference of two squares, or if you don't recognize the shortcut when you're squaring a binomial, just go ahead and FOIL. It can always help you. You'll always get the right answer when you FOIL it. These tricks are only there to just save some time. So like I said, this is you're squaring a binomial, so I recognize that I'm going to square this first term, y squared, y to the 6, and we're going to square that. So just remember that when we square this, let me get a pen that you'll be able to see over here. But when you square this over here, look, make sure you're recognizing that we have y to the 6 being squared. And when that happens, when we're taking y to the 6 times squared, we are now multiplying the 6 and the 2 to give us 12. So we're taking the 6 and the 2 to give us our 12. So that's where that's coming from. So we're not really squaring the 6 to give us a 36. We're going to multiply it by 2 because that's the rules of exponents. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to have a y to the 12th as our first term. Then we multiply our inside terms. Okay, so we have y to the 6 times negative 9x cubed, which will give us negative 9 y to the 6 x cubed. And then we're going to go ahead and double that. So if we double negative 9, it's going to give us negative 18, and that's where this is coming from. And then we just tack on our y to the 6th and our x cubed. Okay? And then the easiest step, just like the first one, we're going to square our last term. So negative 9x cubed squared will give us 81x to the 6. And that x to the 6 is coming from x to the x cubed being squared. So we just multiply the 2 and the 3 together. Or, again, we can FOIL. So I go ahead and show you the FOIL again here, color-coded. So if you follow the blue, that's our first terms, y to the 6 times y to the 6th. And again, we're going to keep the base and add our exponents, y to the 12th. So that's where that's coming in from, right up here. But we're going to have y to the 12th. And then if you follow our green, that's our outer terms. We're going to get negative 9y to the 6 x cubed. Then our red is our inner terms, which will give me negative 9y to the 6 x cubed. And then our last terms in purple are going to give us a positive 81x to the 6th power. So then if you go ahead and you simplify and you combine your like terms, my final answer will be y to the 12th power minus 18y to the 6th x cubed plus 81x to the 6th. And this is just a cute picture to wrap up our review video. But like I said, if you ever need extra help, I'm available during morning home base, afternoon home base, resource time. I'm also available periods 9 and 10 if you need extra practice, or if you want me to help you study inside the library, just let me know ahead of time. And then please take advantage of it. If you find an afternoon where you can get picked up or ride the activity bus home, then if you want some free tutoring one-on-one, I can meet you at the BOT program. So just let me know ahead of time so we can make arrangements. But hopefully this video helped, and good luck on the upcoming test.